So we are here today to talk to you a little bit about healing shame on the path to embodying more of who we are. And we're here today with Abby Keen Healing, and I'm Andrea Maxine Healing and Coaching. And you probably have guessed this already, but we're very interested in the importance of the inner process that accompanies us on the healing path to embodying more of who we are. And I don't know about you, but last week felt like shadow week. Some deep material coming up to the surface for healing. And I don't know if you want to share first, Abby, a little bit about this process. But we were talking just before we came on here, we're talking about healing the parts of ourselves that feel wrong, that feel ugly, that feel embarrassed, that are kind of, stuck underneath the surface. And that actually, in my experience, they need to be expressed. They are aching for our presence and attention, and they are super important and also very difficult to feel. And we were just catching up a little bit, Abby and I, and we had very similar experiences. And so we thought we'd come on and talk a little bit about the emotional journey that really does come with us when we are on a creative path, when we are on a healing path, when we are, whether we're, developing professionally or personally, it really is part of the process. So welcome, Abby.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so funny that both you and I were going through something so similar in different, areas of our life at the same time. So
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's something, for a lot of
Yeah.
people that might be somehow has that energy. But
Yeah.
I do wonder if on this path of like allowing more of ourselves to come out and be expressed, if there's I don't think we can avoid this thing about shame and embarrassment.
Yeah.
Um, and I know for myself, and I see it obviously in my clients too, when it comes to shame and embarrassment, it's usually because there's a kind of a big gap between who I actually am and who I wish to be or who I wish to present to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see me for who I am, the parts of me that I'm not so pleased with and proud of to show off, I feel embarrassed. And sometimes I feel really ashamed, like, uh-oh, you saw me. You saw the ugly me. And so this ugly me is like
Mm-hmm.
that part of me also longs to be accepted and
Mm-hmm.
loved and kind of incorporated, right? And I think for myself, I tend to judge and self-beat those parts, and then I don't want to show them to you because if I can't love myself in those kind of dark corners of me, like how can you? If I show them to you, you're not going to love me either. And do you want to say a little bit more? Because I'm happy to share what happened to me this week.
Yeah, well, it brings up to mind a distinction about how we project or how we process stress or feelings of not belonging. So what my main reaction last week was that the feeling that was arising was not feeling worthy of love and belonging. That was really activated last week for many reasons. But so whatever was going on around me, and I just happened to be on a very beautiful family vacation. There was nothing wrong going on, but there were certain instances, certain moments in the vacation where these deeper, more intimate and fragile parts of myself that felt unworthy of love and belonging surfaced, which I thought was so interesting because there wasn't anything external going wrong. And so that stress that was activated internalized. So I tend to internalize my stress. I don't go out. So there's like internalized stress response, right? And then there's externalized stress response. So externalized stress response might be getting angry or attacking outwardly at someone. So when your system is overloaded with stress, you have a choice, right? There's like external stress where you can get really angry, maybe lash out at someone, maybe get really annoyed. There's nothing like family to like bring that up, right? Where like the people closest to us can annoy us the most, but that doesn't mean we don't love them. It just means that we can irritate each other. And then we have an opportunity to work that out.
Yeah.
I tend to pull in, withdraw, and the stress goes internally, so much so that I get really, really, really small. And then the feelings get really, really, really big. And so part of what the process for me was learning how to reach out for support. And we've been talking
Mhm.
about this, and we talked about this a little bit last week, how important it is to recognize when we have moved past the point of helping ourselves and remaining alone in the issue, and really reaching out for support. Whether that's to a trusted friend or a colleague or a healer or a therapist or a professional, whatever your outlets are of support. I really do believe we all need a team of support, and we need the right people, the people that can support us, that can match our experience, that can really understand and hold that unconditional space of listening
Yeah.
and inviting your full self to come through. And that is exactly what I was lucky enough to experience. Was I had the resources, I remember the resources, I asked for the resources, and then right, the process unfolded from there. So but I think it is just paramount to remember that this can happen on a personal level. It can also happen when we are um, building something as practical as our business, right? So whether it's in our personal relationships or our professional development, these areas of deep, tender emotion arise. And if we miss the opportunities, or if we bypass or overlook or ignore the opportunities to tend to them, to me, it just feels like it's like a backup, a backlog of stuck emotion, stuck energy. And so even just having the phone conversation, a brief, 30-minute call with someone can really move the energy. But I think what you and I were describing as we were talking before we hopped on was that these deeper, more, older, um, areas of wounding got touched and moved and held and witnessed. And when they are witnessed simply in that unconditional space, it's incredible what can move, what can transform, what can change. And then the reciprocity, the flow that can come in when we open up those avenues, when we're no longer holding on to, I am wrong for this, I'm wrong for feeling this, I'm wrong for keeping this inside, or I'm wrong for bringing this out, right? That's kind of how I see shame, is I'm wrong, I am wrong. And so that is an incredible amount of stress that can be compounded and only flourishes in more secrecy. So part of the remedy there is actually seeing where we have opportunities to bring it out in connection, in healthy connection. So
Yeah. Yeah. And when you said, don't remember exactly what you said just now, but it made me think that like shame and embarrassment, it's like, it's actually me rejecting me,
yeah.
because I am embarrassed or ashamed of who I am. And I wish to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually like, in and of itself, it's a self-rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for myself, through my own processing, what came up this week is meeting this, like, sort of like, I guess I could say my inner child wanting to have a temper tantrum. And, I've said that to you before, but for me, anger is really difficult, and tantrum, and like I can rationalize things, and I have common sense, and those emotions, those things are beneath me because I'm going to rationalize myself into like I'm beyond that and I won't let it be expressed, but something really needed to tantrum and not make sense and just be angry. And I couldn't go there. I don't do that on my own. And it was really only through support of this group that I'm part of that could really, really hold me, that I was able to allow that to surface and come out. And it allowed me to really see it and like hold myself tenderly through those places that I feel are so ugly. If you
Yes.
see how ugly I am, I'm going to die. If
Yeah.
I'm going to open myself up and allow you to see all these dark corners of me, you're going to run away. Like nobody's going to love me if you see me in those places.
Mm.
And then I allow myself to be seen by others and myself, obviously in a safe environment. And it's like I get to rewrite this story, and I get to see, oh, you know what? I'm like so vulnerable and tender in that place. And I can hold myself there. And it's like flushing something out, you know? It's like it's allowing something out. And what I really want to say is that after allowing all this raw emotion and embarrassment and shame out in that moment, what was left for me inside is such a sense of peace
Yeah.
and like surrender, acceptance, and like this feeling of whole, almost like I called my pieces back in again and I was whole again. And so when we allow ourselves to go to those dark and scary places where we feel so ashamed by who we are,
Mm.
and we allow this to come and be seen, and it is more powerful when others can see us and reflect back to us that they see us and they love us nonetheless.
Mm.
What's on the other side of it is something really profound.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was saying, I don't know if this describes it, but it almost rewires the way that we experience ourselves in the world. It's right when the part of us that doesn't feel worthy of love and belonging or deserving of love is loved,
Yeah.
right? There's that repair. And with that repair comes a new perspective, a new outlook, a new lens through which we can see the other person sitting next to us, in front of us, with us, right? And then the people around us. Like that's how I felt as well, where like the next day the world looked different to
Yeah.
me. It really had an impact on how I saw the same people I had seen that day, right? But the next day, everything appeared differently because inwardly there was that shift from I'm going to keep this secret,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hiding this place that feels so unworthy of love and belonging, so unworthy of connection, so unworthy of being seen. I'm going to push that down with all my might, right? It's exhausting. And I think the biggest, like, even, like I said, the gestures are simple. Like, all that was needed was for that part to be acknowledged, expressed, and held within an unconditional
Yeah.
space of safety and acceptance. And as we are able to meet more and more parts of ourselves in that manner, in the presence of another, or even on our own, or within a group, right? Which makes it even more exponential. That energy is freed up,
Yeah.
right? Our ability to feel who we are, to feel guided from within, to feel empowered from within, to feel our own sovereignty, to feel our own clarity, to feel ourselves fully embodied, to feel that wholesomeness come back, right? Because when those ugly parts are activated, they take so much energy to manage. And it's almost like we're fractalizing or fractured, You know that feeling where that stress is fracturing our attention and we kind of feel out of our body, right? We're kind of in a million different thought patterns at once. And
Yeah, not only that, I feel like I like how you said that their energy is freed up. And I think that a lot of times, like the energy not being freed up gets stuck there. It finds other ways to come out, and oftentimes they're not really nice because it oftentimes comes in illnesses and disease and things in our bodies when it doesn't allow this, movement and flow, and it stays stagnant inside. So besides the fact that we can, self-improve and feel better about ourselves and about our lives, we also are attending to our body and our, our well-being.
yes, and like you were describing too, that when you had you had that deep process in the group, and then a few days later, right, the thing that you were concerned about or the area of your life that felt a little bit, in a standstill, opened up in a way that was completely unanticipated and synchronistic. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we were talking last week a little bit about how important tending the emotional process is to then being able to take aligned action, I think what you pointed out today is that it's also incredibly important for our experience of reciprocity and flow, that we are actually supported as we work our own inner blocks, our own inner resistance, our own inner shadow, right? When we bring it to the light, when we open up the view, we can actually see more, and more can come through because our eyesight, like our vision is more open, our sensitivity is more open. We can feel there is possibility again. There's like a viewpoint from the mountaintop rather than from inside the cave, perhaps, which the cave is just as valuable as the mountaintop. But so I wonder if you have a particular, anything that you want to say about this for someone who might be struggling with the ugly parts. What would you say, or how do you work with this in your practice? Or can you kind of speak to what is the process for you?
Hmm. Oh, that's a big question. And I don't know that I can say, in a few sentences, because also each person is a little different and how we get there is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I've said that before, but I always feel like the first and foremost thing is to have an awareness. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have to see how these things operate in us. And awareness is something that can be practiced, and it can grow. So we can become more aware of how these things work in us and where they stop us and how they affect us physically when they're not let out. And I also want to say, like, we're all in it together. I feel like this is the human condition. You're not alone with those feelings of embarrassment and shame. I think some people maybe suppress those feelings and they don't interpret them as that is what I'm feeling right now, or not don't have enough awareness to say this is what I'm feeling. But I feel like as human beings, we're all in it together. And the real antidote is to love ourselves and accept ourselves as we are, which is often easier said than done. But ultimately, all these self-processing and, going inward, I feel like ultimately it's about learning to really embrace the person that I am as I am, with not having to add and not having to take away, but really just as I am. And it's a journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I love the remembering of the I am as I am, and allowing that to be enough as it is. It sounds easy, but it's probably the hardest, right? The hardest thing for us to do as human beings. There's a lot of pressure there to be more. Um,
Yeah, how to come as we are, come as you are. You know,
yes, yes, yes. And I guess I don't know if I have much more to add, but I would say that um, I would say one thing, to trust the impulse that if it is there, it is coming up for healing.
yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
That is, it may sound, you know, easy, that everything's coming up for healing, but I would say trust that impulse, that it is coming up for healing. It is coming up for attention, for awareness, to be held, to be connected to be acknowledged, um, and to be learned
Mhm.
from. And I think we are learning to love ourselves. We are learning how to love all over again, again and again, lifelong journey. So I really appreciate your presence here with me, Abby. Thank you.
Same, same.
And again, if you want to leave us any comments or questions, we're always so happy to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today, for showing up and keeping it real. Our weekly conversations about what it means to have honest conversations, to show up and keep it real in our lives, in our relationships, and our work. And we're so happy that you had the time to come on and be with us. So, till next time, be well. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you soon. Bye.
Bye.